everyone, this is Matt from Baltimore Birds with an exciting video this daily. I'm going to give my World Cup predictions because our other writer, Ben Price, did it yesterday, and he really wanted me to. And you know what? I obliged because I love the World Cup too, as you can tell by the Brazil flag in the back and my Brazil jersey on right now. So I'm going to go through groups A to H, pick my two winners, and then go through the round of 16 until we get the champion, which I just happen to have the jersey of. But you'll see in a little bit. But yeah, we'll go through each group so I can give you a little preview. Maybe you can take my picks. That's all right with me. But here I go, groups A through H. All right, let's go with Group A, the home teams group. Brazil, Mexico, Cameroon, and Croatia. My take on this one, obviously, Brazil, the best team in this group, could be the best team in the entire World Cup. But they have Neymar, and they're not going to settle for second. So they're in first. Then it comes down to Croatia, Mexico, and Cameroon for third. Mexico suffered some injuries. Luis Montez, one of the notable ones, which will hurt them. And Chicharito's not even playing like Chicharito played maybe 2 years ago. Cameroon's a good team, but I just don't see them advancing. So I'm going to have to go with Croatia. I think they're a very underrated team, and I think they're going to get by Mexico, at least tie or beat Mexico. And, I mean, they could give Brazil a run for their money in the first game of the World Cup. So Brazil and Croatia are my two teams in Group A. Now on to Group B. Group B is a stacked group. You got Spain and the Netherlands, the two teams that played in the 2010 World Cup final, who are both very strong teams in Europe. And then you add in Chile, a South American team who flies on the radar because they're not Brazil or Argentina, but Chile is just as good as the other two. I think they're fifth in the soccer power ranking. So, like, it actually might be better a group than Germany, Portugal, United States, Ghana. But then you have Australia, who's just, I feel bad for Australia in this group. If they can manage to not lose by 3 to each one of these teams, that would be a win for Australia. But moving on to the actual teams that matter, Spain is much like Brazil. There are good teams in this group, and they could beat or tie Spain, but it's just not going to happen, I don't think. I think Spain's a good enough team where they're going to be able to advance out of this group. Whether or not they lose one or they tie one, I think they're going to advance. So then it comes down to the Netherlands or Chile, which is just an interesting one. And I'm going to go with Chile. I think the Netherlands are getting older, and I think Chile has a better combination of offense and defense than the Netherlands do at this point. So Chile is the team that I'm watching out for. This team could easily advance to the semis, could advance to the final if they kind of play well together. They have been lately. So watch out for Chile. I got Chile in second, Spain in first. Group C is an interesting one. Group C started off as a pretty sure bet that Colombia was going to make it as the first team because Falcao is one of the best players in the world. But when we figured out that Falcao had an injury and then got taken off their roster for the World Cup, it got a little more interesting. But I still think Colombia is a more well-rounded team than people put them out to be. When you have a star player, sometimes they overlook your entire team. Say like Portugal. No one knows about all the other players on Portugal because all they hear about is Cristiano Ronaldo. But anyways, Colombia is a great team, and I think Colombia will have a tough time, but I think they'll get through this group. I think they'll have 2 wins and a loss. I think they'll suffer a loss somewhere. And I think they'll finish first. I don't think it'll be a dominating thing like Brazil and Spain. Then it comes down to the other teams, Greece, Ivory Coast, and Japan. I'm going to rule Greece out. I just don't think Greece is a good enough team to compete with Colombia or an Ivory Coast or Japan. They had their magic in the early 2000s, but it's just not going to happen for you, Greece. I'm sorry. Then it comes down to Japan and Ivory Coast. Japan is a team, they're not ranked very high in the Soccer Power Index, but they're always a team that'll give you a fight. They play defense. They play strong team soccer, which is what you need in a World Cup. But they're not the most talented. The most talented out of those two would be the Ivory Coast by far. Yaya Toure and Drogba. I mean, they're just waiting to explode in the World Cup, and I think this could be the time they actually be successful. And I'm going to pick the Ivory Coast second place in this one over Japan. So Didier Drogba is going to get his chance to make it to the next round of the World Cup. So Colombia first, Ivory Coast second. All right, Group D now. Group D is another pretty stacked group. They got Uruguay's a power, England's a power, and Italy's a power. You got 3 pretty well-established programs in this group, and one can't make it. So it goes back to now, Uruguay is a team who, they were successful way, way back when, but then they just blossomed again in 2010, making the semifinals with Suarez and Forlan, Suarez doing his handball thing against Ghana and everything. That was 4 years ago, but now they actually know how to win, and I think that'll translate well when they play teams like England and Italy. So I think Uruguay is going to steal that number 1 spot from England and Italy. I really do. And then it'll come down to England and Italy, and, well, let's just throw Costa Rica in there because they're in the group, but they're not going to make it. So it's England and Italy for that next spot, and I think they could tie. I think Italy has the advantage at this point. I think Italy's just a more well-rounded team, and, I mean, they've had more success in the World Cup, especially in my lifetime, than England has. So I'm going to pick Italy over England at this point. Italy number 2 and Uruguay number 1. Moving on. We got Group E now. We got Switzerland, France, Ecuador, and Honduras. Another kind of trio of teams that have been pretty strong in qualifying. Switzerland's a team that people don't usually look at for being a power in soccer, but they've been pretty strong in the past 4 years. Ecuador is another team. Obviously, you got a stacked South American contingent, but Ecuador's on the weaker side of the teams that have qualified, but they're still a pretty strong team. And then you got France, who's in the top 10 all the time, and Honduras, our CONCACAF team. Hey, Honduras, yeah, there's your shout out. You're not making it. But the way I look at it, France, they speak French. My mom's from Quebec, which is in Canada. So France has got to be the team, right? Well, also, they're pretty strong. The loss of Ribery is gonna hurt them, but I think this group's easy enough for them to finish first. I don't think they're gonna go too far, but I think it's strong enough to at least get them to first place. Then it's a fight between Ecuador and Switzerland, and I just think Ecuador plays better offense and defense than Switzerland. Switzerland's a strong team, but if you're looking for a well-rounded team that can definitely finish a game off, it's Ecuador. Shout out to my friend Mike Packus from Ecuador. I got France number 1, Ecuador number 2. All right, moving on to Group F. Argentina, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Nigeria, and Iran. This one's a pretty easy one to pick. I think there's 2 clear, strong teams. Nigeria, you did see them play the United States, 2-1 game. They play a pretty interesting style of soccer, but it's not a strong enough soccer to compete with Argentina. And I don't think a team like Bosnia and Herzegovina, who has risen in the past couple of years, I don't think it's going to be strong enough to beat them. If I had to pick 2 teams that's going to be fighting for that spot, it would be Bosnia and Nigeria. But Iran, congrats to them for making the World Cup, but I don't think they're going to factor too much into this. This is obviously Lionel Messi's group to win, and they will definitely come in first. And I don't think it'll be too crazy to expect Bosnia and Herzegovina to finish second. So this one I'm going to wrap up relatively quickly. Argentina 1, Bosnia and Herzegovina 2. All right, we've made it to Group G. Yes, USA's Group G, the group of death. Germany, Portugal, the United States, and Ghana. Oh my, this is going to be a crazy one. Sit tight, folks, because this is going to be an exciting Group G. Obviously, Germany, the premier team in this group, I think they could beat all 3 of us pretty handedly. But, I mean, if Portugal or the United States plays a good game, they could tie them. I don't think anyone's beaten Germany in this group. But, yeah, that's the Star Spangled Banner playing in the background. I had to. I'm patriotic. But, Germany, I think, is going to easily go in number 1. I don't think that's a question. The question is United States, Portugal, and Ghana for number 2. Whew! It's going to be exciting. Cristiano Ronaldo in Portugal versus the United States and a Ghana team that won 4-0 over South Korea just a couple days ago. It's going to be a battle. Any team could beat any team, which that sounds dumb, but that's kind of how it is, and any team could tie them. It could go any way, and it's going to be a tough one, but I have a belief. I think the United States is playing some of the best soccer they've played in the past 10 years right now. Yes, they don't have Landon Donovan. He should be on the team, but he's not. And I think Josie Altidore is finally coming out of his shell. And if he can do that, and if he can be the goal scorer we need him to be, I think we can beat Ghana. And I think Cristiano Ronaldo's injury is a little worse than they have played it out to be. And I just don't know about the rest of the Portugal team if they can lead. And I know they have Pepe and a couple other strong guys, but I just think the United States, I think this group could be, if we play well, obviously we have to play well, I think we could get out of this group. So, USA, going number 2, Germany number 1. Let's watch out for USA in that round of 16. All right, so we're in our final group, Group H. We got Belgium, South Korea, Russia, and Algeria. I'm going to rule out South Korea and Algeria right away because I just don't think South Korea, obviously, they lost 4-0 to Ghana. If you lose 4-0 to Ghana, you're probably not going to make it to the next round. Algeria is a team who they've been talking about how they've improved, but I just don't think they've improved to the point where they're going to be able to compete with the two other teams in the group, Belgium and Russia. So I got my two teams, Belgium and Russia. The order is going to be interesting. Belgium's a team that everyone says is this dark horse. It's going to win championships, and they might, and they're a very talented team, but they're young. And sometimes when you have a young team who hasn't experienced a World Cup, it doesn't go the way that you plan it to. I still think they're talented enough to finish first in this group, but let's hold off on the whole winning the World Cup talk. And then you got Russia, who, I mean, not a big fan of the country, but their soccer team's all right, and if they win, Vladimir Putin apparently is going to give them generous gifts, so I don't know what that means. Maybe it's a piece of Ukraine or something, I don't know. But, yeah, so I'm going to pick Russia second. I think they are a talented team. I don't think they're as talented as Belgium. So you get Belgium 1 and Russia 2, and now I'm going to go with my possible winners, so check that out. As for the front runners in this tournament, we've got two teams that I'm looking at that might have a chance at winning this title. One, it might be the host. It might be the host Brazil team. They got Neymar. They've got plenty of players that we could just go off. We got a Hulk, and you got a strong defense. You got plenty of players that they need to win this World Cup. They got the talent. And, I mean, they're a successful team. It's not like they haven't won a World Cup before. This one's on their soil. You've got to think that they're going to come out strong, and you've got to think that they have to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams to be favored in this World Cup. So right now, I have a Brazil team facing Lionel Messi's Argentina squad. Now this Argentina squad, not someone who you would think like a Spain that's just going to dominate teams, but when you have Lionel Messi, you have the best player in the world. I don't care about the Cristiano Ronaldo fans. Messi is the best player in the world. And he can take over a game. All he needs is just a little bit of help. And I think he can get that. I think his team's relatively strong. I mean, they're not the strongest team, but I think Messi's the best player, and I think this is his time. I have Argentina over Spain in the semifinals. So then it's Argentina and Brazil in the final. And I'm going with Argentina. I'm going with Lionel Messi to finally get through and win that World Cup and cement his legacy as probably the greatest, if not top 3 players of all time. So you get the Brazil-Argentina matchup. I have Argentina winning 2-1. Argentina is my World Cup champ. So for you guys, check out my bracket under this. I'll have everything in the round of 16. So you can check out who I got in those games. And hey, if you disagree, feel free to comment.